when you are seeking to create this longer term connection with someone, I want to ask you, what does that mean for you? And how does the idea that someone can include in that an expectation around how you look, how you talk, what you like to do, how you dress, and yes, how much hair you have on your body? How do those types of expectations connect in with your idea of what a healthy love relationship looks like? Because I don't think we're asking ourselves that question. I think what we're doing, a lot of us, is that we are so eager and wanting to have love from a partner that we are in the process of that far too eager to disappear into what works for the other person, rather than pulling back into ourselves and asking, actually, is this healthy for me? Hello and welcome back to Medusa's Mic. My name is Lucretia. I am so honoured to have your company with me here today. Wherever you are watching this, if maybe you're on YouTube or you're listening in on your favourite podcast app, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. This is the place where we have conversations about how to create uncompromising connections with ourselves and with other people. And as part of that, we have a lot of content that talks about healthy love versus unhealthy love, and how we can have the connections that we truly deserve and desire in our lives. Today, I want to talk to you about something that often gets people, particularly women, riled up on the internet, which is, can men have preferences about our bodies? I have to tell you, whenever I see this come up online, like it comes up every couple of months, the level of outrage that I see some women come at this topic with when they say, yes, of course you can have a preference about ... I find it really interesting because there's all these women leaping to defend the behavior of these men. And in today's episode, I'm calling bullshit on these men's behaviors, because I actually don't think it's a preference, inverted commas. I don't think it's a preference at all. I think it is nothing more than an expectation. And they are two very different things. It's really interesting that most frequently when we talk about this idea of men having preferences about a woman, so often the conversation is around body hair, specifically body hair down there. And I only said it that way because it kind of rhymes. But seriously, body hair in the vulva region. And how many men say they prefer it, that women are shaved down there, that they have a Brazilian, they have no hair. And interestingly, one of the excuses they use, which I find incredibly lame, is they say, oh, well, honey, it just helps me to find your clitoris more easily, and so I can help you feel good more easily. I'm calling bullshit on that one too, right at the get-go. Because if he can't find his way to the clitoris through a little bit of hair, you've got more problems with him than just having a bit of a hair in your vulva. Like, seriously, if he can't even put in that much effort, I'm sorry, no. But let's come back to this idea about preference versus expectation. And I also want to clarify here, this is not a conversation that I'm having around when you're on an app and you're just sliding through and you're like, yep, like this person, no, not that person. And you're talking about really baseline, shallow kind of level attraction, you know, when maybe you just want to hook up with somebody, you know, have a casual thing, like whatever that is, okay? Like, that happens. No judgment around that. We've all got needs. But when it comes to this idea about preferences, I'm not talking about that type of relationship dynamic. What I'm talking about is a situation where you're seeking to create a potential longer term connection with the other person. That's what I'm talking about. And so when you're doing this, when you are seeking to create this longer term connection with someone, I want to ask you, what does that mean for you? And how does the idea that someone can include in that an expectation around how you look, how you talk, what you like to do, how you dress, and yes, how much hair you have on your body? How do those types of expectations connect in with your idea of what a healthy love relationship looks like? Because I don't think we're asking ourselves that question. I think what we're doing, a lot of us, is that we are so eager and wanting to have love from a partner that we are in the process of that far too eager to disappear into what works for the other person, rather than pulling back into ourselves and asking, actually, is this healthy for me? Because frankly, if we're honest with ourselves, is it healthy to be in a relationship with someone else and expect them to change themselves because you prefer, inverted commas, that they present themselves in a different way? It's not a preference, is it? It's an expectation. You are expecting the other person to change what they have decided about themselves, to change what they're comfortable with. You're asking them to change that because you have an expectation that they should be different in some way. And that's actually not what love is it? When we love someone in a healthy way, we're not seeking to change them. We're not seeking to make them better. We're not seeking to transform them. Even though I know we are taught that it is, right? Like so many of the stories that women are told, you can make him a better man. So many women start dating men and we date them for the potential of who we believe they could be, instead of actually going, well, actually, this is how he's presented to me right now. Is this person in front of me, as they are, someone that I want to build a love connection with? But we're not taught that, right? We're taught that we can change them. And that's part of the problem. And as part of that, look, I am being really clear here too. It's not just about men having expectations on us and our body hair, which is the example we're dealing with today. It's also about us having expectations of them. And when we project that onto the other person, we're not creating a really nice, solid, loving, grounded connection between us. What we are doing is seeking to create something that's far more shallow, which I know you don't want. You don't want that. You're not out there looking for a shallow connection with a man. You are out there looking to create a connection with someone that is real and authentic and has a level of depth to it. And yes, you can grow together and you will transform over time. But those transformations are because as individuals, you choose to make them in your lives and you happen to be together while you're doing that. You're not changing yourself for the other person. And here's the thing that I don't feel like we get quite enough. It's that when we choose to change for someone else to meet their preferences or their expectations, when we see that they want us to be something different from what we are, and we love them and we want to have them in our lives and we want that connection, and we choose to change ourselves for them, a couple of things happen. Often that change will always be like a burr under the saddle, because that change was not something we chose to do for ourselves. And here's the second part of it. Those types of changes often do not last. The changes that last when we make them are the changes we make because we choose to do it for ourselves first. Choosing to change for someone else often those changes are just not going to stick, despite our best efforts. Because at the end of the day, we have to be making these really deep and serious choices about who we want to be. We need to be committed to doing that for us first. And then the other people we're in connection with in our lives can meet us at that point, can connect with us as we transform and move ahead. So I'd like you to have a bit of a think about that. It goes both ways. And the other thing that comes up for me around specifically this body hair issue, and frankly, look, I don't care. As a woman, what you choose to do with your body hair is a matter for you, quite frankly. Like, if you want to do Brazilian, if you like a big bush, if you like to have a G-string, like a wax or whatever, if you like to shave, you do you. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you do that. Because it's your body, sister. It's your body. And you get to choose what you do with it. It's your life. You get to choose what you do with it. It's yours. It's not his. And if you connect with a man and you are wanting to build something with depth and something that will grow and last past a couple of weeks, you need to be able to come together and accept each other as you are. And this is not easy to do, right? Like, I've been there, I understand. This is a process of growth. But him saying to you, him having the fucking audacity to say to you at any point, oh, I'd prefer it if you had, I prefer a Brazilian on a girl, like I think it looks sexier. The audacity, the absolute audacity. Because he knows when he says that to you as his partner, as the person that you're potentially building a love relationship with, he knows that when he says that to you, that's in the back of your head now. And that little bit of pressure that he's applied has got you thinking about it. Thinking about it. And it'll play on your mind, because that's what happens. Just that little dig away. And you know what? He may not even realize that saying that is having that outcome, right? Because you know what? He has been raised within the patriarchal context that we've been raised in, and this is one of the ways that it harms all genders. It harms us all. But he doesn't get to do that. He doesn't get to have expectations about what you do or don't do with your body, with your goals, with how you talk, with how you live, how big your boobs are, how much hair you have between your legs. They're not preferences. It's not like him going out and saying, I prefer to have the garlic sauce over the steak Diane sauce for dinner, thanks very much. That's a preference. If he's asking you, if he's suggesting, oh, I prefer this, it's the invisible pressure for a start, and it's the expectation about how you present yourself. And how you present yourself, what you choose to do with your body and your life, is a matter for you. And the right person is going to recognize that and seek to meet you where you are at. They are not going to seek to change you, to meet some kind of idea that they have in their head about what their partner should look like. And that's part of the problem as well, particularly with women's bodies and with the increase of things like porn and filtering online. It has created for a lot of men, particularly younger men, some really bizarre and unrealistic expectations about what women's bodies look like. In fact, there are studies that are showing us, which is horrifying, that some boys have watched so much porn, and a lot of boys are watching it from the age of 10 now. That's often the first exposure for some boys, 10, to seeing porn online. It's horrific, right? But what happens is that's what they're seeing from quite a young age, and that is how they're getting their first amount of exposure to what a woman's body looks like. And on porn, A woman's body is made to look in a very particular way. And here's the thing, the whole hairless thing on the vulva for porn stars, one of the main reasons that women don't have hair there is because the camera angle. When the penis enters the area, the camera can see it all. And there's no hair to obscure the vision of that. And so when you realize this is part of the influence, it's like, what the hell? Boys are seeing women with no hair on their vulvas because they're watching porn from a young age. And so they build this expectation about what women's bodies should look like. And that's been crafted purely for the benefit of the people shooting the film. So it could be marketed better. But the thing that's worse out of this is that those boys who've seen this and it's become their norm, and you'll hear me talk about these types of things a lot in the podcast where I talk about how things become normalized in our culture when they're actually not healthy for us. But it's normalized and we think it's normal, so we don't question it. But for these boys, they're watching porn from a young age, and then as they get older and then they have their first intimate encounter with a real life girl or woman, sometimes these boys are repulsed. Sometimes these boys cannot get an erection or sustain an erection because what they're seeing does not line up with what they've been watching and jerking off to sometimes for years. It doesn't, this real life human being in front of them has become so objectified through porn, through the filtering, like the never-ending filtering that we see online, that smooths out all the very natural bumps and lumps that girls and women have on our faces and in other places. So these poor young men, when they have their first intimate encounter, may not even feel turned on because their concept of reality has been so warped by these other influences they've been exposed to in these really formative years, in these really formative periods when they are developing their own ideas about what sexuality is, what they feel turned on by, and what a woman's body should look like, what is normal. Then when they meet a woman and they have these intimate encounters and they've got this context beforehand, they're meeting women, young women who are having these encounters with these younger men. And then these young men are like, well, my preference is that you don't have hair, because that's what's normal in his mind, right? Like that's what he's been groomed through these other influences to believe is normal. So he says, I don't feel turned on by that, so I need you to look like that. And then what happens from that? The young women in question, if they're vulnerable, and often, you know, if it's an early encounter that you're having of intimacy, of sex with a man, this can really warp how we then feel about ourselves. It can make those young women feel like they are lacking, like there is something wrong with them, like they better get rid of that hair because, you know, he's not turned on by me, he's telling me this. So can you see, it just becomes this unholy mess, a really destructive mess. It's destructive for boys and for girls, for young women and then young men. I think we need to really start to question why we are saying the things we are saying. Why do we feel it's okay for men to have preferences about how we present our bodies and other things? And do you actually feel that that is a healthy thing to be happening within your love relationship, within your intimate connection? We need to ask ourselves these questions. We need to consider what are the other influences that are being brought to bear in that instance, and are those influences, or have those influences created norms that are not healthy and that we need to unravel? And sometimes you need to get help to unravel those. That's what I think about that. It's a lot. We've covered a lot. It's quite a short episode, I can see that, but something that's been playing on my mind for a really long time. I want to leave you with this last thought. I do not believe it is healthy for us to have expectations about how someone we love looks. If you have an expectation and they are not in your mind and they are not meeting it, that is about you. It's not about them. And that requires you to do some work on yourself and ask, hang on, like what is going on? Like, why do I believe it's okay to project that onto someone else? And is it actually showing them love when I do that? Is that love? Is that what healthy love is? Is that what healthy love looks like? I think they are definitely questions worth asking. And in doing so, you're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to learn more about what has influenced your ideas about how your partner should look and your ideas about love. And ultimately, it's going to help you to create a much healthier love connection with this person who you're wanting to create a longer term situation with. I hope that maybe this has got some thoughts going on in your head today. That's made you question some things maybe about how you've seen yourself and seen your partners even. Until next time, I'm wishing you lots of healthy love. Thanks so much for your company today. If you feel more informed or empowered after listening to this podcast, please leave us a review or share this episode with a friend or family member. The music for today's podcast is brought to you by Dima Chisco from TuneTank. The opinions and perspectives offered on Medusa's Mic are solely those of the interviewer and her guests. They are our expressed personal opinions and views. They are not intended to replace any treatment or advice you may be receiving from a licensed professional. If you have specific concerns or a situation in which you require professional, psychological, medical, or legal help, you should consult with an appropriately trained and qualified specialist. This episode is copyright protected and should not be reproduced in any form without express permission from the Medusa's Mic founder and host, Lucretia Rackfield.